Hello, everyone. My name, for those of you who don't know me, is Micaela. I'm the Managing Director of Connections, and welcome to ConnecTALKS, re-engaging your team after a crisis. To all of our Connections Luxury members and to all of our friends from around the world, a very, very warm welcome. As you know, Connections Luxury is the international private community for trusted decision makers in high-end travel. And everything that we do is specifically designed in the Connections way of doing business, which is a pioneering networking concept, combining one-to-one meetings and memorable experiences that forge long-lasting business relationships. So in the spirit of our ethos, I encourage you all to get involved and have your cameras on, ready to discover the person behind the profession. And as I was saying before, it just makes us feel as if we can close our eyes and pretend to be in person. We can see each other. If you are able and you can spare the time, we'd also love you to stay on after this talk to enjoy a social, very informal social in the Connections way. So just as an opportunity to help you meet others on the call. Before I introduce today's guests, I wanted to mention that today I'm joined by the Connections team, specifically Sadia, our buyer manager, and Evangeline, our head of operations, who will be sharing information, spotlighting our session, and will be interacting with you all in the chat. And also a shout out to the rest of the Connections team who are joining us today. I'm sure many of you used Zoom before, but if not, please, can I ask you all to place yourself on mute? The session will last up to an hour and is being recorded. So if you have any colleagues and friends who might find this talk useful, we will be distributing this in the coming days, so feel free to forward it on. If during this talk you have any question whatsoever on the topic, please do not hesitate to put that in the chat, which you will find on the bottom of your screen. You can type your question and I will try and pick it up and ask throughout the discussion. So let's begin. What has been clear to us over the last few months is the subject of people, specifically our people, and how we move forward after the challenges we've faced over the last 17 months. Not only has the pandemic significantly impacted on our business, but it has also had a huge impact on our people and all those who work with us. We had to navigate furlough schemes, sadly redundancies, and whilst balancing a high service demand and team burnout. So as we emerge from the pandemic, our focus lies on rebuilding our team to recover, resurge with renewed strength. So I'm delighted to welcome 4 distinguished panelists who today will explore how we can best rebuild and re-engage our teams and the future leaders of luxury travel. And I'd like to first introduce you to Diana. Diana Stobo is the owner and creator of The Retreat in Costa Rica. Diana is an award-winning author, classically trained chef, and an early pioneer in the raw food movement. Her passion of healing people has inspired her to travel the world extensively as both a sought-after speaker as well as a wellness traveler, learning about healing, customs, and practices from around the world. In 2014, Diana founded The Retreat with a goal to create a transformational healing center where guests could escape their everyday lives in a nurturing and gentle environment. So welcome, Diana.
Thank you.
We also have the pleasure to welcoming Gail. Gail Kenny is co-owner and managing director of Gail Kenny Executive Recruitment. Gail has over 25 years of travel industry experience and has been named as one of the 50 most influential women in the travel industry over the past 60 years. In late 2004, Gail launched her own recruitment company and rapidly gained a reputation as the leading recruiter and the go-to person for hiring senior travel executives with both established and startup travel companies. A little fun fact for her, Gail suffers from something called bathmophobia, which is a fear of slopes or stairs, having fallen down the whole marble staircase in front of an entire restaurant. So I don't blame you, Gail, but welcome. I'd also like to introduce you to John. John Kelly is the hotel manager at the Bloomsbury, part of the Doyle collection. Now an Irishman in London. John has worked for Turnberry Golf Resort, Starwood Hotels, Marriott and Hoxton Hotels before joining the Bloomsbury in 2019. Needless to say, it's been a roller coaster since then. What you might not know about John is that he won an award for Best Front of House at Hotel Olympia way back in 2004 when he was studying. This involved serving a 3-course meal with a specialty coffee and a flambé dessert, I may add, in front of a very large crowd and competing against the likes of the Ritz and the Savoy. John still makes plenty of Irish coffee, so when you meet John, you know you're in for a treat. So I'm looking forward to that, John, actually. Welcome. Last but by no means least, please welcome Mary Jean Tully, founder and CEO of Tully Luxury Travel. Mary Jean has been on the cutting edge of luxury travel for years, recognized by Forbes and Condé Nast Traveler, and named one of the most powerful women in travel by Travel Agent magazine. Mary Jean is renowned for her expertise, philanthropy, and enthusiasm. She also sits on the advisory board for many leading cruise lines, hotels, and travel supplier. Mary Jean's also an avid conservationist, and her favorite expression is pay it forward. So welcome, Diana, Gail, John, and Mary Jean. And thank you for joining us today and share your views on how we can best recruit, restructure, and re-engage our teams as future leaders on the luxury travel industry. So I'd like to start now with a question to Gail. Gail, are you able to share any insights into the luxury travel market from a personnel perspective, and where it stands today? What roles are more and most in demand than others?
I don't hear that word personnel very often, Micaela. It sounds like we're in military. I don't know. Anyway, that's just my view. I think 2021 is, in terms of the luxury sector, we've moved away from survival, which was last year, and we now focus very much on recovery. It's about, as you said earlier, about building back better. And I guess that's through rebuilding, recruiting, regrouping people as well, and not just your employees, but also the re-engagement of your own customers. I think there's also been a shift in the way CEOs operate, so sole traders and big corporates. I think they've had to demonstrate, and will continue to need to demonstrate, empathy and show a bit of humility and show a little bit of vulnerability to their teams, because it makes that person who's leading the business far more authentic and trustworthy. And I think this brings about trust from with the employees and gives as much clarity going forward in what can only be described as quite a challenging industry. The other thing I've noticed really is about the importance of building communities internally as well, especially when we've been working from home so much. So I think that's probably where we are at the moment, and there's a lot of discussions about hybrid working, which we'll come on to. The roles that I'm seeing are still around business transformation, as our clients are trying to move their business forward. But always in demand are the tech roles, and in particular developers and digital marketing. I've also noticed a lot of CRM roles being recruited for, and I wonder whether that's, and I think it is because I've spoken to my clients, it's around keeping in touch and engaging with those customers that you have that haven't travelled for quite a long time and they've accepted your credit note. So it's about keeping those customers happy and engaged so that they rebook for 2022 and onwards. So that's where I sort of see the area of demand.
Yeah, oh, thank you, Gail. Thank you very much. Diana, what was your focus for staff of the retreat when the pandemic first hit and when the resorts closed?
Well, whenever I think about that time, I swear it was like Godzilla was coming and everybody started scattering and trying to figure out what to do with themselves. And I thought, okay, hold steady, you know, someone's got to be the leader here. And it really, you know, I pulled my big girl panties up and I said, I have to be courageous here. And I thought everybody was afraid for their livelihood, their lives, and all the hotels were letting all their employees go. They were closing down. And I said, nope, we're going to be special. We're going to be different. And we didn't close down. And fascinatingly, we ended up in Costa Rica, we ended up getting a lot of people who were moving in, had to quarantine. So we ended up staying open and having quarantine guest, I guess you want to call it, for 2 weeks at a time. And that was kind of special. But before that, I told my staff, I said, you want to keep your job? Here's a paintbrush. here's a broom. I don't care if you work in the kitchen. I don't care if you're in housekeeping. Everybody is going to revamp the hotel. And I think that it really built a community around my staff. And they're now, because we're thriving again, they're so happy and they're doing such a great job. And you can feel it. It's like the whole environment is more appreciative. You know, we never sent them home. And I think that added a lot of value to their purpose in life, their purpose in the hotel. It was spectacular. I as hard as it was for the last year and a half, I feel like there was so much growth and connection that happened that was essential, really.
Yeah, so going back to the community message of Gail, you've done just that. And most of your staff, I understand, stayed. And
they did. There was a couple people who, you know, you say, listen, everybody has to do something all day long. You guys come in, and then there's the bartender standing behind the bar like this. I'm like, there's no guest here. If you don't do something, you're out. And I gave everybody fair warning. And I think we lost about 3 people out of 45. So that wasn't too bad.
Well, that's fantastic, Diana. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Mary Jean, has your business experienced any significant structural change as a result of the staff changes? Any consolidation?
Ours was rather different. I had to keep a lot of the staff on just in dealing with all the cancellations. We had millions and millions of dollars of clients' deposits that clients did with the cruise lines. And the cruise lines, I think, were hit probably one of the hardest, more than anybody. They got a terrible rap. And there were a lot of clients. I do a lot of world cruise business. And for instance, when COVID hit, I had 112 passengers on the Crystal World cruise. We had over 1,100 passengers on the ships from January to the end of March, and nobody was affected by COVID. But we had people that couldn't get home. We had future cruise deposits. We had all kinds of stuff. We had to work with the airlines and the cruise lines. There was rumor that some cruise lines were going out of business, especially the biggest cruise lines. We've been Crystal Cruise Line's #1 producer globally, like worldwide, for 21 years. And we had over 67, no, that's too much. I don't know what it was, but it was extreme numbers. I mean, just to give you an idea, they owed me $580,000 in commission, not to mention all the clients, you know, because they had a thing where you pay 6 months in advance for your cruise. So with doing the millions of dollars, so all we were dealing with was my agents. I couldn't let them go, even though we had no business coming in, but I couldn't, we all took a pay cut, including myself. But we were constantly booking and rebooking. So the cruise lines, because nobody knew how long this would last. So initially, you know, they thought, okay, you know, 3 months from now, we'll be able to go. And so we'd book. In fact, I was with clients last night here on the Silver Moon, and they said, we booked 7 cruises and had to cancel all of them. So it was very disheartening for my employees to keep them motivated, because, you know, they get paid a bonus plus a commission, and to still be on top of everything and being the middle person, like we had no control over what the cruise lines were doing. So it was very difficult. And I found that I had to lead by example, but not only that, I had to reassure the clients. I had to be with the suppliers, my employees, because I had many women that all of a sudden had to deal with homeschooling as well. And it was just, you know, myself, I'm the eternal optimist. I was going through anxiety. but I couldn't show it. And I think for everybody, it was the unknown. And we're the middle person, right? So we would have no more answers than anybody else, but everybody wanted to hear from us. So it's starting to pick up again. But now the biggest problem is, and where the frustration comes in, and I'm sure hotels go through this and other people, is every day things are changing. So we have people booked and all of a sudden the airline cancels. And all of a sudden the cruise line or the hotel will say, well, that's not our fault that the airline canceled. We're still open and running for business, and dealing with all of these things with, you know, even now in Canada and the UK and everywhere else, you can't go to the Caribbean if you've been double vaccinated and one of your shots was AstraZeneca. The CDC, it's a nightmare. And it's just, we make no money on any of this. So we're still battling it. We're still, even though stuff is coming up, we're battling it each and every day. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting.
But I know you for your optimism, and you touched upon that. So has this resulted in structural changes to your company, or you kept it pretty much the same?
No, we've kept it pretty much the same. Because what changes am I going to really do? I needed all these bodies to help do it. I mean, from a financial standpoint, it's been very difficult on the company, but we did it, and you know, we're here and we're surviving. I try to do more one-on-ones with people, but I have a staff of 83. So doing one-on-one, you know, like with all of them, and doing like, you know, I'm like the mama bear, you know, and they're like my cubs. But I mean, I still have the first employee I ever hired 34 years ago. So the average tenure in my office is 19 plus years. Wow. So these are used to it. They believe in me. They know how I was. I've cried on the phone with them. I told them, look, I'm scared too, because we don't know when this is going to end, but we're fighters. We're a family. And I just think that being honest and open and not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes, it's what's kept it real. And we're just all in it together. I mean, it's a very cliche, but we are all in it together.
Very different reality, Mary Jean. Thank you for sharing that. We'll touch upon more about the role of the leader. You touched upon the crying bit and the you know, the emotions and everything, but we'll get to that in a moment. I just wanted to ask John. The door collection has experienced recent internal changes. So how have the roles changed?
I mean, it's very similar to you know what Dana spoke about, and Mary Jean to a certain degree, and Gail is also dealing with kind of the repercussions of a lot of redundancies and restructuring within the company. So you know, across our hotels with the Doyle collection, you know, the 3 here in London and there's 3 in Ireland. You know, we've had a lot of local changes, and again, laws and rules are changing constantly, and they're different in every jurisdiction. But from a London perspective here, you know, we made over 60% of our workforce redundant here, which was obviously very challenging in its own right. You know, the government had some great support schemes for us here, which allowed us to keep some people working part-time, some people left at home. And then that core team, that community that Dana spoke about and Gail spoke about, you know, when the hotel was closed, we were all here, as in there was a small core team of people. And you know, as a hotel manager, you know, there were things that I hadn't done in many years, be it, you know, maintenance, painting, running taps, flushing showers, flushing toilets, making sure, you know, the hotel I'm in here, I'm in one of our beautiful suites, but the building itself is 90 years old. You know, so if it stops functioning at the occupancies we used to do, the building will come to a grinding halt in many aspects. So, but aside from the day-to-day operations, you know, as a sales organization, as a sales and marketing organization, you know, we now need to, and we have already relooked at how, you know, how can we move forward in this, what seems to be a changing time and hopefully a more positive time for everybody, in the sense that we need to start, you know, fishing where the fish are. And at the moment for the UK, really, it's all domestic business. It's all local leisure business. There's no Americans yet. There's no international travel really coming through. And so for us, it's great because we're getting a lot of Londoners who are coming in for a night away. We're getting a lot of domestic Scottish, Welsh, and the rest of England business coming through for weekends away. So we're seeing peaks and troughs. But again, changing, you know, how we manage our sales team. So, you know, our corporate sales directors and our MICE sales directors, you know, they're focused on getting the business wherever we can at the moment, and be that maybe a little bit of entertaining. Particularly in London, there's been a lot of filming going on here. As the streets have been quiet over the last couple of months, a lot of filming is taking place. We've taken advantage of that with a couple of different film crews in at different times. You know, so the mentality of everybody at every level of the organization has had to change, be it hotel manager, be it my duty managers who are now back working, but are actually full-time receptionists in reality, as well as being a duty manager. You know, and from a sales organization perspective, my director of corporate sales is, you know, yes, obviously keeping in touch with all our key corporate contacts, but fortunately it's the same message that we're not traveling yet, the offices aren't opening yet, we don't know when we'll be back. You know, so so we're then sending them out to, well, okay, actually, what leisure markets can we work in, and how can we focus on dealing with a lot more local travel agents, and when I say local, I mean UK, and then building for the future. So when the international travel can come back, you know, we're still here, we're still open. Here's anything that's changed, you know, and we're fortunate enough here at this particular property, the Bloomsbury. We've got a fantastic restaurant and bar, an outdoor restaurant as well. So we were able to open that early. In April, and of course it was absolutely ram-packed, because it was one of very few outdoor restaurants that people could enjoy, and then the bar shortly after that, and so, you know, we've been busy, but busy at a particular capped capacity, because the more you know, if we went back to 100%, well, I just wouldn't have the staff to run the hotel at that level at this moment in time. And that's a little bit of COVID, and it's a little bit of Brexit, and a lot of the core team, you know, our room attendants, our waiters, our chefs, you know, and I know it'll come up a little bit later on, but, you know, they got better hours, better perks, and less hassle doing other jobs. And so it's a real challenge for the hospitality industry in general now, is trying to retain the key people that run your hotel for you, and keeping them engaged and keeping them happy, where they could go down the road and work perhaps for a distribution company delivering packages, and make a lot more money with a lot less stress in their lives.
Absolutely, John. No, thanks for that. And I just want to pick up on one thing you said earlier, which is that, you know, we're focusing very much on domestic, and this is where we are at the moment, but there is definitely a fast pace of change. And my team just pinged me now, so thank you, Sam. A hot off the press BBC article: no quarantine for fully jabbed EU and US arrivals to the UK. So small victories, and that's what's going to get us moving. So we get the rest of the team, yay, we're back in business. So we have small victories, and we will get back to where we need to be. But obviously there has been a lot of change, and there will be a lot of change moving on. So thank you, John. Gail, have you been in touch with staff who retrained during COVID? Perhaps they've succeeded in moving on and securing higher positions, or even moved outside of the industry.
Seen a lot of change. Some people have taken the time, I guess, to reflect and retrain into, they can upskill into digital marketing. Some people have decided actually they want to retrain as a mental health first aider, for example. I've seen people go out, and a lot of people are setting up their own businesses and small businesses with local communities. I think we've also unfortunately seen, we've lost a lot of people out of the industry, especially when we talk about digital skills. So we've lost people out to Peloton, Gymshark, all of those high growth markets that have actually, I guess, if you can say, been able to really survive and grow and prosper in a COVID world. The likes of Peloton and Gymshark would be those companies, and then the tech businesses such as Fizzbok and Amazon. So we have lost a lot of people. Whether we can get them to come back in, it's too early to say. I think to give you another example of candidates that we've seen, you know, anyone that's got an operational background. So we had a candidate that worked at the airport, actually decided, well, there's nothing going on at the airport, so I'm going to go off and I'm going to work for the NHS, where there is a massive demand for my operational skills and excellence. So, and then you look at a CEO who was running a massive ski business, and he just said, do you know what, something this pandemic's just taught me, I don't want to be in this rat race anymore. I'm just going to build some houses in Cornwall and rent them out, because the domestic tourism is amazing. So yeah, we've seen a lot of shifts in people's mindset, and you know, unfortunately losing people to outside of travel.
And there, of course, Gail, in big changes, yes, there is a lot of upset and everything, but there is also a lot of opportunities for everyone. So if you have that positive mindset, which Mary Jean tells us,
Yeah.
and preaches, and
that,
Diana and John, then.
Having said that, you know, equally on the flip side of it, we've seen a lot of startups as well, and some of those in luxury. So we've been heavily recruiting for those guys, which is really encouraging and positive. So, you know, there's always, when there's a market, when we work in a market like this, there's always an opportunity for innovation. And that's what we're seeing coming through as well with some of these startups.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, Gail. Diana, did any new opportunities open up for your staff, whether that be role shifts or upskilling to help progression?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Well, being able to, first of all, I was stuck at the hotel. I couldn't get back to the United States for 10 months. So I spent every waking moment with my staff, and I created leadership conferences, and I, you know, really developed them. Costa Rican, I shouldn't say that as a whole, but my staff are, they're young, they haven't had the experience. And so, and they're very emotional, a little dramatic, you know, it's just the culture. And so we had these leadership conferences where they really had to step up and look deep inside themselves. And I think they loved it. It was a development course for them. So it really gave them value and made them love their job on a deeper level, because I'm a wellness hotel. And in wellness, for example, my manager, he was probably 60, 70, 80 pounds overweight. And it was really hard for me because he was not healthy, and he's the manager of my hotel. And I said, you know, we're going to take this opportunity. And I hooked him up with the doctor, the Ayurvedic doctor, and we put him on a program. And he lost 80 pounds and he looks amazing. And he's like a whole new person. And now he understands the concept of what we do rather than just kind of running the system. You know, he's out there and he sees people who are doing these cleanses, and he's like, oh, I can tell you what happened there. I can tell you what this is about. So he's more engaged in the program. And I think my food and beverage manager, I have a rare tea bar, and I taught him all the teas. I spent weeks with him walking through all the specific healing qualities of teas. And now he does tea tastings. It was a really great time for everybody to develop their skills. And find some passion beyond just showing up to work and doing the job. I think that was, again, a beautiful part of this disastrous year. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic story of your manager. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's an amazing story, actually. John, a salesperson, I know that a salesperson is able to continue to work from home because he can do his job from home, his or her job from home. Yet others, like your chef or your front of house staff, are required to come back working in the hotel as before. So how are you managing this shift in different working environment? Has this had an impact on salaries, of perks offered, especially in light of your current hiring?
Yeah, it's a very topical topic at the moment across our organization. I know probably across a lot of the hotels. Certainly in London, it's a big challenge because that work from home message, according to the government now, has been lifted. So, you know, so where salespeople beforehand were pretty much in the hotel most days, you know, or out in the calls or appointments, they were visual, they were present in the hotel. And so where some of our team work from home, we still encourage them to come in. You know, certainly for face-to-face meetings. Obviously, they're meeting clients and spend the day in the hotel, so the team can see them. And you know, it's important for them to be able to get a feel for the property, and particularly how it is now, how some of the things might have changed since COVID, how we run the hotel. But from a perks and employment perspective, it's a real challenge because, you know, a chef or certainly a senior chef never works 40 hours a week. They're 50, 60 hours a week. You know, they rarely see their kids with a family. And again, like you know, what we were saying earlier on, is that, people's perspectives changed, particularly when they were at home, maybe on furlough, or when the hotel was locked down and they spent time with their family. They're like, actually, I don't need this, 60-hour week in my life, even for whatever money it might be. So trying to find that balance, and actually, if that means by recruiting a few more people than we had previously to alleviate a little bit of that, so putting a little less pressure on the team that we might have done before, so committing a little bit more to their well-being and actually ensuring that we're being fair in distributing hours and work across the team. That's making a difference already, I think, and particularly within our kitchens. But it is a real challenge for us, because you're absolutely right. My exec chef can't work from home. But my sales people, my marketing people can, and then try to control the community that exists within the hotel, and maybe perhaps a little bit of resentment from, well, I'm a front office manager. I want a day off. I want to work from home. The reality of that, as we all know, isn't necessarily possible. So keeping people engaged and ensure that you're certainly for me, I'm close to the ground in terms of sentiment and how people are feeling. And for us, what we've done is we've brought back pretty much all of the wonderful things that we used to do to keep the team motivated previously. So, when I say the standard things, I assume most hotels that I've worked in have done them, employees of the month, and recognizing people for TripAdvisor mentions, guest letters, guest feedback, all of the kind of the basic toolkit that a hotel manager has to reward and motivate their staff, but really making a song and dance about it again, and really, ensuring that the guys feel valued, that yes, it's been a difficult time, even though our business levels are specific, considerably lower than what they were, it's important to just spend that little bit more time with them. And as I said, particularly the guys who are here all of the time. We are certainly encouraging and asking, and almost mandating our sales guys to start coming back into work a little bit more. And of course, there's a lot of hesitance and people who've worked at home or been at home for 12, 15 months now, getting on public transport for the first time to come into work is a big concern for them. For me or for any of the other team, if they get public transport, a cycle or whatever it might be, I'm used to it. I'm used to being around people. I'm used to being out in the street, or if I get on the tube or whatnot. But in reality, those that have been at home, there's a lot of potential fear for them to come back. So trying to make things as easy for people as possible is definitely part of that. But it is, and it's always going to be a challenge in hotels specifically, as it will be on a cruise line, particularly for Dana as well, where you're so remote, you can't work from home if you're that manager. You can't do a tea tasting. You could probably do an online tea tasting, but it's not that, and we did a lot of that. We did, I did an Irish coffee masterclass for a very similar group during the lockdown, because it was a way of engaging with customers. But we also did that with our staff who were furloughed. We engaged with them regularly during that period of time as well. So yeah, I don't have an easy, quick, positive answer for you, but it's definitely something that we're very aware of. Is how do we balance those that can work from home, those that can't, and make sure that there's no feud in the middle.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess it sounds like you guys are starting already to make inroads into that, which is, as you said, a very challenging thing to do. And the perks, I guess the companies of tomorrow, or the companies that are going to be more palatable for employees, are going to be the ones that are going to look after them. And they're going to have well-being at the forefront, and they are going to be about them as well as obviously the business, because if the business doesn't make money, then that's no point. So yes, I think that's definitely it. Mary Jean, have you changed your working environment, flexible working or incentive structure, to help retain and re-inspire your staff?
Nobody's been in our office at all since last March. And in fact, it's funny, I go in and when I see some of the day-timers on people's desks, where it's still March of last year, or March of 2020, which is kind of crazy. Same with us, everybody has been working from home. We have the technology set up. And quite frankly, my life has changed as far as I don't have to meet with so many people. And, even when I was just on this cruise, I felt a bit overwhelmed. And I think I had to come out of the box very quickly and tell people, those that had gotten situated, I didn't want them looking for other jobs. So we made the decision even 4 months ago, 5 months ago, that even if it was back that we could open and everything else, which we can, we wouldn't do it till probably like October, and then we would do it in a very small scale, like 2 days a week, ease people back in, 2 days a week, maybe 3 days, or every 2 days, 1 week, 3 days, another. I do really feel that a lot of people can work well from home, but I also think we sometimes need that, you know, being together and doing stuff. But I also right now, you know, you have to have a passion to be in the travel industry. In fact, you have to have passion for whatever industry you're in. And I didn't want anybody to lose that passion. So I've gone to every cruise line. And right now I have many of my staff getting ready to all go on cruises, to give them something to look forward to inspire them again of why we got into this business in the first place. And my business partner and I are doing everything we can, you know, to make that happen. And the cruise lines have been bending over backwards for them, because we have to. It's just such a thing. We have to. It's not just the protocols in place. We have to ignite their fire again. You know, we have to continue to bring up the reasons why we got in the business. And, you know, everybody's sick of Zoom. I'm sick of Zoom. We all are. It's been a great ploy for us to be at home, you know, to be able to work, but we miss the finer things in life. And, you know, you just, there's certain things you just can't do on Zoom anymore. So as far as structurally, we haven't changed anything structurally. We've tried to motivate without being hokey. You know, we've tried to do things. I have to say, I have such a great team. A lot of the times it was somebody's birthday, and it would bring me to tears that a lot of them would drive by somebody's house. They would have drive-bys and honking the horns and holding out signs for another employee. I mean, it was heartwarming, you know, and because these people have worked together for so long, it's being involved with their families, because I think bottom line, more than anything, we don't know what's going on behind their closed doors. And some of them are scared. And even when I just came on this ship, I was fine. And I thought, you know, everything is great. And I'm sitting there at the muster station for lifeboat drill. And I was sitting there by myself in the room where they had me in the lounge. And all of a sudden I got very emotional. And I got all choked up because I'm looking at the crew who were so happy. And the passengers were so happy. And I'm like, I'm traveling again. I feel alive. I feel human. And right then I thought too, I want my employees to feel this. It's not the owners and the managers. We have to continually motivate their passion for why they got into the business.
Yeah, no, that's a lovely story. Thanks for sharing that, Mary Jean. Yeah, definitely. Before I move on to Gail, I was going to talk about the stigma of redundancy, but actually a question from Bram in the audience has appeared, Bram Evers. And he's asking, for those who have their teams returning, how are you coping with those who refuse to take the vaccine? I mean, that is obviously on the assumption that you are actually asking everyone to have a vaccine to return. So it'd be interesting to understand what you guys have done in your own respective businesses. Not give me a long answer, because obviously there's time restraints, but I thought before we move on to the next subject, I just wanted to have Bram's question answered. Who wants to take this?
Yeah, I can. Essentially, we're not allowed to actually ask people. Obviously, you hear from people, you know, chit chat and discussion, but you know, we're encouraging it. That's the main message that we're putting out there. Along with our own COVID protocols, we're, you know, our staff, thanks to the government here, in the sense that they've given free testing kits for workplaces. In fact, anybody can get a free kit through the NHS here. So our team are testing themselves, a lot of flow tests twice a week, and reporting back, so, you know, positive or negative. But along with that, we're just generally reiterating the same message that, you know, the vaccines are available. We encourage people to get them, but we are not in a position to discriminate against somebody who refuses to take it or doesn't want to take it, for whatever reason that may be. So for the most part, most of our team have taken them, but at the end of the day, it is a choice. And so we're not allowed to ask, and you know, as I said, we just encourage it, because we feel it's you know, it's the right thing for them to do. But again, that's our opinion versus some who.
Thanks, John. There's been a big campaign, obviously, from the NHS to encourage that. So we're all doing that in our workplaces. Sorry, Mary Jean, you said you wanted to say something as well.
Yeah, I mean, in Canada, it's different in a lot of things, but it was very interesting. You know, here in Greece, I'd walk into some shops and people weren't wearing masks, and it was a lot of the younger people saying that they don't believe in it. they don't believe that the virus is real, or they don't know what's in it. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, you eat McDonald's, you drink Coca-Cola, and you do all of this stuff, but you don't know what's in the vaccine. The only people that I feel that I have a little bit of a weakness for, because I understand, because the science hasn't proved it yet. If there's a woman that's pregnant, or if there's a woman in childbearing years that's thinking that she may want to get pregnant, we don't know. My business partner's daughter got long haul COVID. She still is having effects, and it was before the vaccine came out. I think that's been a major discussion that I've been on travel panels here when I've been on the cruise ship this past week. And a lot of them said they can't force it, but a lot of the cruise lines are just saying, hey, we're vaccinating all of our crew. We want to make people as comfortable as possible. But I actually had somebody tell me today that they're very proud of the fact that they fudged it, made it look like they had their vaccinations, and they've never had one. And they're traveling like they do. So, I mean, I really think to people, you want to create an environment, you want to make everybody comfortable. If you don't want to get vaccinated, fine, but you will wear a mask the entire time. You know, and not to, I mean, I'm double vaccinated and I still wear a mask and things. So I think more and more is coming out. You know, they just made a law in the, you know, the states in Canada are very similar in some things. All the universities, they have to go back. You know, all of the healthcare workers, the firefighters, you know, they all have to be double vaccinated. If we only treated this like they treated polio and measles, it would be eradicated. It is definitely a political movement, and it's definitely something with the younger people that's hard. But so far, I haven't had anybody from my office say that they didn't want to get the vaccine. But Canadians are just really nice. You know, there's, you know, they'll just kind of like go along with it, you know, and do everything. But a lot of my US friends are having real problems in their offices. They don't know what to do.
Yeah, oh, the sensitive subject. Thanks, Bram, for raising it. Diana, what about you?
I'm going to take the fifth on this one. It's a controversial subject, and I have I'm a wellness naturalist, so I have vaccine toxicity. I won't take it. I would never ask anybody in my team to take it, but we have all the protocols in place. We've had no issues at all. I don't feel like it's a controversial subject, and it's better I just stay quiet.
Well, every opinion will be absolutely respected, and yes, it's definitely a controversial subject, and I know that a lot of countries are not able to actually impose it because it's free. You know,
well, for me, it's not political at all. It has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with health. And you know, I don't eat McDonald's, and you're right, Mary Jean, MJ, you're absolutely right. People are looking at it one way and they're forgetting about their actual health. Apparently, I had COVID. I have a very strong immune system. I have all the antibodies. They can't force me to take a vaccine because I have all the antibodies. I don't know how everybody has their own story. You know, there's so many questions. There's so many unanswered. I could never possibly ask somebody to take it. I've got pregnant people at my hotel. It just wouldn't be right, in my opinion.
Have you lost anyone close to you for COVID? I've lost 7 people.
I've lost 8 people from the COVID vaccine. They died after the vaccine. Yeah, within 4 days. So I lost nobody from COVID. But I hear that, and I have, of course, it's a very controversial subject because I didn't lose anybody with COVID, but I lost 8 people after they got the vaccine from vaccine toxicity or whatever happened to them. You know, whatever it's about, because there's not enough information out there. So I'm just not sure, you know, so I can't enforce something I don't know enough about.
Yeah. Gail, what about you and your staff? What have you done?
We all work from home, but I would never enforce it anyway, to be honest. It's entirely, everybody's individual, everybody's got their own thoughts on it, as Diana said there. So I've been double jabbed and I caught COVID last week. So, but had I not been double jabbed, I probably would have ended up in hospital because I was quite ill with it. So, but I didn't need to go into hospital. So we've, you know, everyone's got their views, and I'm with Diana on this. It's quite controversial, and I think it's not a subject that we should really touch upon today.
Of course. Right, Gail, actually, the stigma of redundancy is fading now. As we know, so many talented individuals were let go as a result. So coming back to the workplace, what are candidates now looking for as part of the job offering, like perks, family time, remote working, and so on?
Yeah, the stigma of redundancy has definitely been removed. I think something to bear in mind for candidates when they're going for a job, if they've been made redundant or they've been on furlough, is what have you done with your time? What have you been doing? Have you upskilled? Have you been doing some voluntary work? You know, I know a guy that was driving an Ocado van all during his furlough, not necessarily because of the money financially, because he just wanted to keep himself sane. And you know, there's a lot of people that volunteered for the vaccine centres. So it's actually about, you know, how proactive have you been and how driven are you as an individual, not just to sit at home and watch daytime TV. So our clients are asking candidates that. I think moving forward, companies have to make themselves an employer of choice. Candidates, so on top of the list, and I can't emphasize this, is flexibility. Above pay, above remuneration, it is people have had a taste of that, spending more time with their families and their friends, and actually reflected on that. And that is the flexibility of not having to go into the city 5 days a week. Is paramount, and this hybrid working is here to stay, whether employers like it or not. And I think the other thing to bear in mind, if you want to be an employer brand of choice, you have to have purpose and meaning, and people are looking for brands that believe in sustainability. They believe in their people and the wellness of their people. They believe in diversity and equality and inclusion, and all of those things now are on the list of candidates when looking at potential employers.
Yes, and I feel that is, from what I hear around me, as never before. It's really, yeah. So thank you, Gail.
And if there's one positive thing that we can take out of this pandemic, is the wake-up call that actually there is more to life than just work.
That's correct. Absolutely. Diana, do you believe there has been a shift around the role and position of a leader, and what teams now come to expect from us? Mary Jean has been touching upon, you know, being closer to her staff. You've also had a wonderful story. John's touched upon it. Everyone really. So yeah, do you believe there's been a shift around the role of the position of a leader?
Oh, for sure. I didn't get the memo that life isn't about work, because it seems that's all I do. But I do have 3 companies, so it's hard for me to take any time off. But it's just we're working smarter, differently. I mean, I was on an airplane every 4 days, and my health. I mean, since I've been home, I had put on so much weight, and I was so uncomfortable, and my health was bad. And I mean, I looked in the mirror, I didn't even recognize myself anymore. I was exhausted all the time. So taking care of myself, being able to stay put and work. I don't like Zoom anymore. I've had, you know, I'm exhausted too from it, but I'm happy to be here with all you guys. But it is nice to not have to get on a plane for every meeting, for every discussion. And I think you know, as much as I'm tired of looking at my computer, I am happy to be home. I have to say, you know, it's nice to be home and not be on the go all the time. But as far as the leadership goes, I think that everybody kind of had to step into their, obviously not everybody's going to, but a lot of people had to step into leadership roles that weren't even available to them before, because they were, there was a hierarchy. And now we're sort of the masters of our own demise, right? Or our own success. And so I think that's what I've seen for people, is they've been able to, you know, really capture their work experience and make the most out of it from wherever they are. I mean, I really do feel like I think there was something called the pandemic pivot, they called it. And I love that. I mean, we're all pivoting, right? We're doing a dance. Life hits you. It's like, you know, a bunch of lemons come at you. You're like, squeeze them and make lemonade. And that's what we're doing. And so there's a lot of, again, I keep reiterating, there's a lot of beauty that came out of it. I'm not going to, you know, to your point, John, it's challenging but we're not here to talk about all the challenges. We all have our little silent suffering. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I went through a mini depression because, we don't know we still don't know what's going to happen, so we have to all kind of step up and become our own leaders. And I think that that's happening. I've seen it in my staff. I've seen everybody who kind of was waiting to be told what to do or now taking the reins and doing what they think should be done. And it's been beautiful.
Should leaders show vulnerability and empathy?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Absolutely. But not chaos and drama. And so there's a fine line, especially in the Latin countries where I work. Chaos and drama looks like vulnerability, but I say, no, show it, but make wise decisions through it. You can't sit in the corner and cry. You got to say, okay, well, this is difficult. How are we going to do it? I mean, I've had times when my manager has looked at me and he was terrorized. He's like, please don't fire me. Please don't fire me. Please don't let me go. I don't know how I'm going to pay for my children. And I said, we're going to get through this. Now, of course, I went into my bedroom and go, oh my God, how are we going to get through this? But he didn't see that, because I had to build him up and give him stability so that he could perform on a better, level for himself and for his kids and for our staff and for everybody else. I think that this has been personally a huge character building moment in time. And I think for a lot of people, and there are people who are going to thrive in this moment, and there are people who are going to fail. And I think that's true for any challenges.
No, thank you. Thank you for that. I'm conscious we've got 6 minutes to go. And
there's a word, Micaela, that everybody has been using about leaders, and it's authentic.
Yeah.
That is absolutely key going forward. If you can be an authentic leader, people will, and you offer that flexible environment and that well-being, and you've got the culture at the heart of your business, you will have a great business. But you don't need to pretend you've got those broad shoulders anymore. You can just be who you are and be true to yourself and let people see that you are vulnerable yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's difficult to keep the line, but there's definitely a barrier that broke, whether before you wouldn't look vulnerable or show that you're vulnerable, and now actually perhaps because of the turmoil we've all gone through, it's actually acceptable. You're human and you're authentic. So thank you for that. Definitely. I'm conscious that Mary Jean needs to go in about 5 minutes. I wanted to ask John if you can give me a very succinct answer, so we can say our final question to Mary Jean as well. As travel recovers, how are you now re-engaging with your team to perform at their best?
Well, asking an Irishman to give a succinct answer is always a challenge, but I mean, I think I've probably said a lot of it already, and we've already started re-engaging our team. We continue to engage them during kind of the lockdowns when they're at home, and the authenticity bit that Gail mentioned and Diana's talking about. I'm Irish, so I wear my heart on my sleeve. People know who I am; they see what they get, and I've always played that role. But it's about bringing my managers along that journey, and actually that they can show that as well. So, a little example of something we did on Valentine's Day this year. Our pastry chef wasn't on furlough at the time, just for whatever reasons. We had him in, and we baked some cookies. I ordered the old love hearts, those sweets that say "kiss me" and all those old school. I don't know whether you get them in Canada or whatnot, but you know the ones I'm talking about. And we made up 94 individual care packages. And myself and the general manager here, Michael, we drove around London for 7 hours on the Friday before Valentine's Day to deliver these to people's doors. Didn't cost us anything but the petrol in the car and our time, and the difference that made. And look, when I say it's a tool in my tool bag or my toolkit, but I genuinely was delighted to see people as they were to see us. They hadn't seen us for months. And something simple as that just keeps people engaged and actually shows you care. We do care, and it was something we wanted to do. And it was Valentine's Day, and it doesn't need to be soppy couples. This is like, we love you guys. You mightn't necessarily see that from Michael, my boss, but we love you guys, and here we are. Here's a little care package. We hope you're all well. We leave it on your doorstep, step back, and we'll see you when we see you. You know, so our engagement never really stopped. And it's about being honest and upfront with people right now as well. People say, you know, oh, I want to hire somebody, and say, well, they're afraid of another lockdown. I said, well, I don't know if there's another lockdown. We're all afraid of another lockdown, but we're here right now. There's business coming through the door. We'll entertain and look after our guests as best we can, and our customers and each other, and continue to move forward until someone else says no. And hopefully that won't happen for now. So.
For an Irish man wearing his heart on his sleeve, that was a lovely answer. No, great. I love the example. Thank you, John. Mary Jean, your final question to you. What has been a key lesson learned when leading your teams through a crisis? If there was one lesson, what would that be?
I don't think for me it was a lesson. I think, I mean, I wear my heart on my sleeve too, like John, and I think just keeping it real. And I remember one of my managers said to me, I love the fact that you will admit that you're scared too, but we're going to figure out a way, instead of trying to just, you know, brush everything under the carpet. I think be an ear to listen to them. But I always have been that. And I think just more so of realizing that it's not just when you talk about business and sales updates and this and that, that just separately you say, how are you doing? How's it going with the kids? How's it going with this? You know, just trying to get into their personal space, because I'm sure they're scared too, you know, and they have been. Just, you know, everybody's world has fallen apart around them. And so I just think that's all it was. But I always led like that. I always led with that kind of, you know, soft, like nurturing thing, so to speak. So that didn't change for me, but I had to be more proactive because I wasn't in the office, you know, physically seeing the people. So I probably just had to make more phone calls, you know, that type of thing. It's an ongoing thing. It's an ongoing thing.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much to all of you. I think this is all we've got time for today. I promised it was going to be an hour, and I think it's a minute to the hour. You are very, very welcome to stay on. But first of all, thanks to Diana, Gail, John, and Mary Jean for taking the time to join us today, and for your brilliant contribution to this topic. I thoroughly enjoyed talking about this, and it's definitely opened my eyes to certain things I wasn't thinking about, and to the future and what that may hold for many, many businesses. And there's a lot of positive stuff that comes out of it. And for every big crisis, there are always amazing opportunities to grasp. So there is the hope there as well.